Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time for today's walk and for today's story. I'm going to attempt a story here that will test my storytelling ability. It's a complicated thing. I'm going to see if I can tell it as simply as possible with no script and just off the cuff. Okay, so let me, I'll give you the title first. It's about, there's a famous musician from the 1600s named French, I think he's French, Fermat, you pronounce it Fermat's last theorem. He wrote about a theory, about a number theory in a book, and he left a kind of a note in the margin that he had solved it. And that's all he said. I've solved this, or something to that effect, but no modern mathematician had ever seen the proof, or no one knew the proof. For all intents and purposes, there was no proof in existence. And the theorem is, you know, the famous a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the Pythagorean's theorem. This one is x to the integer n plus y to the integer n equals z to the integer n, meaning, and then the thing was that for any number for n, the power of 2, whatever, any number over 2, there was no solution. And if you write this down, it will make more sense. But or just look it up on ChatGPT. But you know, the most famous one for it's also a solution for a Pythagorean theorem. But 3 to the power of 2, which is 9, plus 4 to the power of 2, 16, equals 25, which is the same as 5 to the power of 2. Okay, that's a solution. But anything over 2 for an integer, which means 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Any number bigger than that, there is no proof. Okay, fast forward. This is back in the 1600s. So this in 1600s was never proven. And I think in modern times, it was always on the list of things, the biggest mathematical mysteries that needed to be proved. And I think there was maybe $1 million reward offered. I'm not sure. But now fast forward to the 1990s, there's a British mathematician named Andrew Wiles. And I won't tell you, he thought he solved it one time, then there was a hole found in it, and then he went back and he filled the hole, fixed it, and fixed the proof. And then I think in 1995, it was finally confirmed by other mathematicians. But there's a great documentary. It was years ago I saw this. I think you could probably find it still on YouTube somewhere. But Andrew Wiles is talking about when the solution came. And he describes this almost in spiritual terms. He says, and he was in tears. It was like, you know, it was like somebody, you know, testifying in church and crying while he was doing it. He was doing this. He was saying, when the solution came to him, I mean, he worked hard on it for years and years and years. So I wouldn't say it just came in a flash to him, but the solution came in a flash. The solution came in a flash. I mean, he'd done a lot of preparation work. But this is the way he described it. He says, when the solution came, it was as if I was in a dark room, no lights, could not see a thing, and then somebody all of a sudden turned on the lights. And I thought, oh wow, this is interesting. description I've heard. Now I want to get into kind of a religious topic. I love number theory. I love, I could never figure out stuff like this. I'm not good at math, or anything like that, but I like to read about mathematicians doing this, that, or the other thing. And if I can understand it, if they can dumb it down and make it understandable to me, I find this stuff fascinating. And here's why. Because here's the question. Was mathematics as a science, was it discovered or created? Was it an invention of man, or was it an discovery of eternal principles that were already there? When you think of, now I'm not talking about Fermat's last theorem, but even like Pythagorean's theorem, these laws of math, if they're true in the 1600s, they're true in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, doesn't matter. They're timeless. They were not created by man. These concepts existed already for theoretically or feasibly forever. Or they've always existed. They were not created, and they were just discovered. And it really gets to the concept of eternal. In Mormon theology, there's a concept, of course we believe in God and everything, but there's a concept in Mormon theology that even God is subject to laws. Oh shoot, the sprinklers are on and I'm gonna get wet. Let me see if my camera's gonna get wet. Let's get out of here. Oh geez, I'm wet. Okay, in Mormon theology, for example, gravity or physics or whatever, that these are eternal laws that even God is subjected to. So in Mormon theology, miracles are not seen as the breaking of physical laws, but they are seen as revealing holes in human understanding of laws or laws of nature. Not necessarily that God created the thing to, I wish I could think of a good example of that, but well, here's just an example. I didn't even know if this is true, but I just remember a long time ago reading somewhere in Mormon theology that there was a talk of a newspaper, either from the future or from the past or something, like a time slip story or something like that, where there seemed to be a time warp. Well, is that a miracle caused by God, or is it God applying laws that are not yet understood by man? So I'm not gonna, say one way or the other. I mean, I really don't have a dog in this hunt. I mean, it's fine, whatever you want to believe, but it's fun for me to think about it. So when Andrew Wiles came upon the solution for Fermat's last theorem, it was like the lights just came on. Of course, he did a lot of groundwork to prepare him to enter this room. The lights came on, but it was almost like the solution was almost like given to him from God, for example, allowing him to see this. Not necessarily that the solution was created by God. it was like an eternal law that humans didn't understand yet, that he was allowed to see. And he was so emotional about it. He was in tears. And in this video, I think I saw it on PBS years ago or something. I think they are now, you can see them on YouTube somewhere. But look up Andrew Wiles documentary or something like that. And I love thinking about these kinds of things. You know, same things like, you know, where did God from? Where did God come from? If you know, we believe that nothing from nothing comes to nothing. You know, everything comes from something. So if God, so did God, you know, and then in Mormon theology, if you study it, you know, again, it's fun to think about, but it doesn't affect my everyday life. You know, it's not like my faith, you know, if it was proven that by someone or there was a theory that, oh, that's impossible. Yeah, I wouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to my faith. You know, there's just some things that are critical, some things are not, some things that the mysteries of God, probably not critical to our everyday existence, but fun to think about. And so, anyways, how did I do? 11 minutes? I think that's a pretty complicated story to tell in 11 minutes. I hope you enjoy it, or hope you like thinking about these things as much as I like to think about them, and or try to explain this. Oh wow, what a thing to practice, be able to explain things like this. Wow. Okay, and then in closing, this is a bonus. Today I checked into who's Biff on the Back to the Future? Tom Wilson. He has a YouTube channel and I like it. But I haven't checked in it for months or maybe even years. But today I checked in and he had a recent video on there. And he really said a few things that I can relate to fully. Apparently he had open heart surgery. Was it earlier this year? Similar. I had my second stroke this year. I was in the hospital for a month. But anyways, in his talking about his experience, he was saying, oh, he's got many more listeners than I do. So, you know, I don't know if he gets monetized or whatever, but you know, for me, it's just a labor of love. I said, oh, this reminds me of me. Why do I keep making YouTube videos? And there's only one reason. You know, someday I'd like to get monetized and start making money at this, but if that doesn't happen, it's no problem. The reason I do it is for my posterity, for my kids and my grandkids. And right now they have no interest at all. I can't get family members to watch any of these videos, which is fine. However, I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to when my kids were growing up. I used to film every mundane thing on camcorder, video recording, make a video of every mundane thing they did. And my kids never cared about it, but now they're adults with their own children and they love these videos. And which ones do they love? Not the one with the school plays, with the school performances, where you got Zen kids up there and you got a 2-hour presentation by the school and your child maybe has a 5-minute part in it. No, that's not they don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that. But the kids are fighting, or I'm scolding them, or we're dancing, or some mundane, or they want udon for dinner and they're crying and having a temper tantrum about it and say, I want to go out to this restaurant. Those are the things they love to watch. And they watch them again and again. And now I'm getting thanks from my wife and children that I took the time to take those videos back then, in the 80s and 90s. So anyways, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And thank you for listening. And that's, oh my heavens, I went up to 15 minutes. That's a little bit beyond my normal range. Thank you. Bye-bye.